Across the world of mythological tales and lore, there are perhaps no key deities compared to one another, more than Zeus, of Greek lore, and Odin, of Norse lore. While the two certainly have numerous near-direct comparisons, there are actually quite a number of differences between the two. Today, we're going to take a deep dive into two separate mythological pantheons and settle the age-old question once and for all. Zeus versus Odin, which god is more powerful? Let's get into it. Before we dive into the direct comparisons and differences between the prime gods of Greek and Norse mythology, let's take a look at the pantheons themselves. While both Greek and Norse mythological stories are two of the most widely known and taught lores in the world and share a number of key similarities, the creation of the two was wholly separate. Norse mythology originated in Scandinavia and came on the scene relatively late in relation to other regions' tales. While it remained mainly in Norway, Denmark and Sweden for the majority of its early life, it eventually was spread to other nations, such as nearby Iceland, by immigrants in or around the 7th century AD. However, following the sweeping conversion of the European region to Christianity during the Middle Ages, Norse mythology was seen as sacrilegious, and a majority of its formative texts were burnt or destroyed as a result. Few of these initial records of the mythology survive to this day. In Norse mythology, there are a number of gods and goddesses. However, one, Odin, is seen as the supreme ruler of the rest. Greek mythology, on the other hand, is much older than its Norse counterpart. The earliest recollection of Greek tales dates back to around the 8th century BCE and was originally spread orally throughout Greece and surrounding nations. Eventually, these tales were recorded in numerous recollections, including famous literary works such as Homer's epic poems and Hesiod's Theogony. In Greek lore, there also existed a prime deity, ruling the universe and all other gods. He was known as Zeus. In Greek lore, Zeus was seen as not only the ruler of the universe and the rest of the pantheon, but was chiefly the god of the skies and thunder. He possessed the power to command the weather, and his main weapon of choice while in battle were powerful thunderbolts, which he threw from his very hands. Zeus's strengths were many, but one of the key ones was his status as a god, and thus his immortality. Zeus was also a highly respected figure in Greek mythology, both amongst the mortals he oversaw, as well as by the other gods and goddesses he commanded. He was also a fierce warrior, and even took down the universe's greatest threat, the feared Typhon, in an effort to save the cosmos from the Titans regaining control of it. However, Zeus was not without his faults. He was known to have quite a nasty, vengeful streak, and his ability to forgive and forget was not often on display in Greek stories. This paired poorly with another of his key weaknesses as a deity, his extreme flashes of anger. He was often noted to throw lightning bolts at the mortals below on Earth to show his displeasure with them. Perhaps his greatest deficiency, however, was his love life. Zeus carried a reputation of being a massive womanizer. In fact, throughout all of Greek mythology, there didn't seem to be much that disqualified a woman from being interesting to Zeus, regardless of whether she was married, interested in him, or even of the same species. In fact, perhaps Zeus's most famous offspring, Heracles, was born out of wedlock from a mortal woman. Zeus fathered children in many different forms, including a swan, an eagle, an ant, and even a shower of gold. As you can probably guess, his goddess wife Hera wasn't all too pleased at this behavior. In Norse mythology, the Zeus character equivalent was none other than Odin, the ruler of Asgard and the king of Aesir. Odin was described as the god of a multitude of areas, including wisdom, death, healing, battle, sorcery, and tons of others. He was known as being extremely competitive and was often found challenging other gods and goddesses in various battles of skill or wit. Although it may seem that Odin would have an easy advantage in these challenges, that didn't mean that he always played fair. Odin was also known as the god of the runes and had in his possession an all-seeing eye, allowing him to keep careful watch over the universe which he oversaw. Odin's strengths were obvious. He was cunning beyond belief, was a brave and determined warrior, and was also known to be extremely self-sacrificing when the situation called for it. He is also known for being the father of Thor, the god of thunder in Norse mythology, amongst plenty of other offspring. In terms of weaknesses, Odin's tended to be more mental than physical, as Zeus's were. Odin was highly prone to fits of madness, where he would lose all sight of himself, his kingdom, and his purpose as a whole. There is also more than one instance in Norse lore that see the ruler of Asgard make decisions that were unpopular and bemoaned by the other gods and Odin's subjects. Now that we've covered both of these deities' powers, weaknesses, and character traits, let's explore the question at hand. Who was more powerful? While Zeus certainly seems to take the cake in the physicality category, Odin was no slouch in battle either. There are countless recollections of epic battles led by Odin, riding atop his famed steed, the eight-legged Sleipnir. However, in the most dire of circumstances, such as the universe's threat at the hands of Typhon, Zeus tended to take matters of battle into his own hands, while Odin was more likely to have his famous and powerful son Thor do his war bidding. In terms of intellect and cunning, Odin certainly gets the nod here. As god of wit, cunning, and a myriad of other more stealthy arenas, Odin was simply able to achieve things with his words and covert actions that Zeus could ever dream of. However, for all of their differences, the two supreme deities certainly had numerous similarities. They were both the rulers of their respective kingdoms. They both had a tendency to get into trouble with women who they were not married to, and they both fathered some extraordinary heroes who continued their legacy and even added to it. Zeus and Odin were not mirrored after one another, but their similarities are quite impressive. All in all, both Zeus and Odin were easily the most powerful gods in their respective mythologies. As ruler of Asgard and king of the Aesir, Odin's might was seen throughout the land, and his offspring proved that his legacy would live on. Zeus, on the other hand, ruled with a mighty hand and wasn't afraid to lead the charge into battle against some of the universe's most daunting enemies. In terms of who was more powerful, I will have to give the slight edge to Zeus. While the power of each is close when you take into account all of their powers, the fact that Zeus was noted time and time again as defeating some of the most powerful foes ever created, oftentimes single-handedly, as well as being immortal, unlike Odin's prophesied death at Ragnarok, is enough for us to say that he was the more powerful of the two, if not just slightly. So, there you have it. In the battle for ultimate power between these two supreme gods, we're going with Zeus as the more powerful. What do you think? Would you agree with us that Zeus's prowess in battle is enough to give him the edge over Odin? Or do you believe that Odin's many recorded wit and intelligence feats are even more impressive? Be sure to let us know in the comments. And as always, please like and subscribe for more content just like this. See you in the next video.